Welcome to the Discourse on Islamic Cosmology and Eschatology podcast. Each episode will have, God willing, a starting topic that I want to reflect with the Islamic cosmology and think about it, talk about it. Who am I? My name is Nasser. I'm a geoscientist since 15 years, born and raised in Germany, as you may have guessed by my accent, and my background, my heritage is from Morocco. But enough about me. Today's topic is causality. When I think about the words of God in the Quran, the way Allah speaks, I can't help but get the impression that Allah, the Almighty, the All-Knowing, is talking to us as if the day of judgment is already happening. Like when God says, Yawma'idhin, today, just before the Quran describes events on the Day of Judgment. This is very interesting, since in my opinion it fits to a transcendent perspective on anything that did happen, happens, or will happen. We Muslims say that Allah is above His creation, and for the limited mind of a human being, above a three-dimensional space is simply incomprehensible, especially if we suggest that the universe is infinite in every direction, at least virtually infinite. Because yes, while the universe has a specific size, it is expanding due to dark energy at a rate that prohibits anything that is slower than the speed of light to ever reach the end of space itself, if this is even possible. And you will surely know one cannot reach speeds higher than that of light. Now, okay, let's say we freeze the expansion and try to reach it, to get out of this three-dimensional space and understand how there can be an above the universe. Now we're facing another question. What topology does the universe have? If the universe is closed in itself, there is no out, as one will reach the starting point after a very long journey. But okay, let's say space is flat and it has an edge, a border, just for argument's sake. Then we're facing another problem. The end of space is the end of space-time, and if time ends, we will simply freeze, stop. No action, no reaction, just being. But we can make our life easier if we reduce our problem. If you imagine Carl Sagan's flatland. So let's say we are not talking about three-dimensional space, we are talking about two-dimensional space. Now, if we add the dimension of time, a ring in two-dimensional space will get stretched out into a tube, into a third dimension. Every layer of that tube is like a timestamp in the existence of the circle. Add it up, it gets that three-dimensional shape. Now you have a perspective that helps you understand time as a dimension. You can look at the start of the tube and at the end of the tube and know its history and future in a blink of an eye. But your perspective implies that there is another arrow of time, which is yours. And that's what I'm trying to explain. In recent times, pun not intended, I'm confronted with the idea that there is more than just one arrow of time, which of course would allow the apparent breaking of causality if action and reaction is able to leave our arrow of time. This cosmological idea is kind of dangerous because there is a hadith, and hadiths are the sayings of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which we learn that supposedly we have the information from Allah that we are not expected to curse time, for Allah is supposedly time. I am saying supposedly because this hadith is not considered sahih. But if it is true that one of Allah's abilities or names is actually time, then it could be heretical to believe in a second arrow of time. Of course, one could argue that Allah, being time, encompasses any direction of it, but that is really shaky ground. Yet, since that hadith is not sahih, which means authentic, and thus canon of the Islamic cosmology, I think we are free to elaborate on the possibility of time being as multidimensional as space. For our time, we are talking about a timeline, but a second dimension of time would open up a time plane, a time field, where even more incomprehensible actions could be possible. Going back to our ring drawn on a sheet of paper, if we take that paper and move it across the third dimension, the ring, as talked about, does build up a cylindric body. In our thought experiment, we are letting the ring to be able to move up and down, left and right on the paper, but not leave it. Now imagine that you are moving that sheet of paper at a constant speed in one direction. Let's call the speed you are moving that sheet of paper through space the speed of light. Our space, our three-dimensional space, in which we can so freely move around, is moving in a fourth dimension at a constant speed, which is the speed of light. That's the reason why nothing can go faster than the speed of light. Imagine that we don't have an ordinary sheet of paper, but one with squares, like you know from math class. On every level, we move the sheet through space, and at every step, the ring is only allowed to move one of that squares in any direction. If it moves two or more, it jumps through space, like teleportation, which is not possible. So we have that one rule. Now let that ring move as fast as it can while you are moving that sheet of paper through space. And you will see that there is a maximum speed that the ring can put behind it at a specific time. And that is the maximum speed, not of light, but of causality. It cannot reach a place before it is allowed to. I hope I could bring you the ideas of causality more near and have offered you a perspective on cosmology. Thank you, dear brothers and sisters, and hopefully to the next time when you tune in to the dice